Good morning, everyone. Good day, good afternoon, good evening. Greetings. How are you? Welcome to Catalyst Energies. My name is Dee. Thank you for joining me. I am so grateful that you are here. Welcome to the Daily Medicine Transmission. We are broadcasting. It's 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on January 26, 2022. And, a new type of human is busting out of the cosmic egg as we speak. So welcome back, everyone. Thank you for joining me and thank you for joining us. And if you are new here, welcome to the channel. Thank you for taking the time to be here and check this out. And a special welcome and shout out to my subscribers on Subscribestar. Thank you so much for your patronage and your investment in not only this content, but your own journey and your soul's evolution. That actually that means a lot more than financially supporting me as I do this. So it's going to have a lot more impact on the larger structure moving forward. So how is everyone doing? Let's just have like a real check-in here. Yesterday, I did the astrology report for the last week of the lunar cycle, the fourth lunar quarter, leading up to our Aquarius new moon on the 1st, right? This is also when the Chinese New Year begins as well, the year of the water tiger. So, and I feel like I did battle in my sleep last night. That's what I feel like. People yesterday had reported, a number of people reporting just not feeling it or feeling a lot of it, maybe depending on what you were paying attention to. So people, brain fog and a lot of heaviness and a really strong need to just like pull in and consolidate. And remember, Black Moon Lilith is in Cancer right now. So talk about pulling in and consolidating our energy and our power. That's a very Cancerian type of expression there, or an action. And so with Lilith there are aspects of ourselves that we don't even know are operating that are drawing us to make decisions or to engage in actions that are so primal and instinctively activated for self-preservation, because we are still part of this planet and this material form, regardless of what you think about it and what you believe is our trajectory moving on from this point. We still are here in this process. And so people just feeling all kinds of physical symptoms and the heaviness. Now, one thing I did want to bring up is that there has been reports from a variety of different places. I have like on the ground information or intel, if you want to call it that, and also some other references, just a lot of spraying like down in the Florida area. And so if that's if you're in the southwest or southeast of the United States, and there had been a lot of spraying where I am too, up in rural north central Pennsylvania, which, by the way, this is a total non sequitur, but not really, because I want to, these are the larger issues that we should be talking about. What information is making its way to us, what we are interfacing with in a cognitive way. And remember, Mercury now in its retrograde is back in Capricorn. It's going to be in a trine with the North Node today. And, thinking very deeply and seriously and very goal-oriented mental process, and specifically in an internalized or review type of way. So, but there is, there's more information that's coming out, but sometimes it seems like it's the same old shit recycled, with just a new set of characters on the top there. So when I talk about North Central PA, it's because I'm sure by now many of you know about the truck crash with the lab monkeys from the CDC. Well, that's an hour from where I'm at right now. So I am paying attention to that for various reasons and what is being set up as a result of that. And I'm going to put in Telegram a link to a particular video with somebody's channel that just did a little bit more of a dig, especially in the local news and some of the local interaction there as well, to kind of get a sense of what that narrative is shaping up to be, but it's very close. Very, very close. It's an hour drive away from where I am. Montour County is the next county over, so I'm really paying attention to that. But that's just one instance of a particular circumstance that's being presented to us with all these very important characteristics that seem to overlap with larger themes we've all been living through over the last to 2 years. And it does feel like that, there's a lull, and we can tell, and is stuff brewing under the surface that we can also tell and we can feel. And the pivot in things was so clearly aligned with the astrological transits of this time that it's very much intended. It's very much intended for a reason that maybe is not very obvious to all of us yet, but this is what we've been learning about. And it's kind of horrifying to consider, although we've had the last 1.5 to 2 years to really allow ourselves to be drawn towards the energy of the dialectic, the Gemini, I almost said the Gemini curse, but it's not. It is and it's not, and that's the nature of Gemini, right? It is and it's not at the very same time. And it's the lived experience of that, which is Virgo, right? Both ruled by Mercury. But we've had a lot of time to work on this, and the moon by the end of today, very early into tomorrow, is going to meet K2, right? In that 30 degrees of Scorpio, that first kind of movement of the South Node and just the nodes in general out of the realm of the mind and the higher mind into the experience. And so how much of this experience is authentic and real, and how much of it is and organic, and how much of it is continuing to be crafted for us? That's a question that I'm like constantly asking myself and looking into. So we've had a lot of time to learn what it really means to function within a dialectic, haven't we? And what I find particularly compelling and horrifying at the same time is how much the dialectic is necessary for the creation of the base three, the Trinity, right? The alchemical transmutation that happens in the realm of Sagittarius requires the two opposing forces that are then able to create through their interaction a third and new substance, or a third and new meaning or understanding. And I think we're really struggling right now with the sun in Aquarius. I mean, thankfully Saturn is here too, but it's really not offering much right now other than, again, a stasis point, a moment to kind of revel in, if you can even think about that, in what you get from the contributions that you've made at a social level. That's Aquarius represents a humanitarian level. When you're thinking about the future and thinking about humanity in the future, this is the Aquarian nature. One large organism in and of itself in time and space is the Aquarian nature, and the sun wants us to be ourselves, right? So we're going to see this in the reading. I did do a reading today as we are just in this very strange moment, and I know many of us can feel it. So I feel like I did battle weird pains in my shoulder, like you slept on it wrong, and like the sheets are just like, stripped off of the mattress because I was like just tossing around. And there's definitely some solar flare activity, and I'm sure it's going to ramp up again very soon in terms of, all those sunspots are going to start facing the planet, and those are the ones erupting in these solar flares to begin with, still impacting us. But something is about to burst forward, and the sun today in Aquarius at the degree of the cosmic egg, I think, is a big trying to get our minds and our self wrapped around what is being brought forward as a result of everything that has transpired so far. So And there is a lot of battle, and there is just a lot of unknowns, and the brooding and the compulsiveness about certain things is getting much more pronounced, and the agitation is so palpable at this point. Even if you are fully aware and you don't even hold any kind of agitation within yourself or fear or anything else, you can still feel it. And there has, whatever is being introduced or whatever is being used to modify the attention and the perspective of humanity as a whole is definitely having an impact on all of us. Even if we see through it or understand that it's not coming organically from us, we're still subject to the feelings of the experience while we're being here. And this is kind of, where it gets difficult for the Starseed mission, because this is a part of it too, is being able to navigate this and be available to navigate and guide other people when they have no idea what is happening. So it's important to pay attention. It's important to balance that paying attention with self-care, and, practicing the things are going to keep that membrane between you and what's pressing in very strong and in your control, right? Your control of your boundaries, your energetic control. You don't want to shield everything off, because then you don't have your intuition to use as a tool. But you also don't want to stay so open, which has been really the challenge of the Pleiadian starseed for a long time, is how to remain as sensitive and empathic as possible while remaining balanced with the masculine, and asserting a sense of boundary and a sense of value and worth. Because it's only when you assert that value and worth of yourself that you will even feel motivated to survive, but even beyond that, to advocate for yourself. So how do we do that? Well, it takes practice. It takes concerted effort. It takes prayer. It takes meditation time. It takes consciously doing the things that are going to assist you in that realm. And so it doesn't have to be this grand gesture. It needs to be consistent, right? You do your 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes of meditation every day, no matter what happens. And there's plenty of times where you're going to be like, I want to sleep in. I don't want to do it, right? I would rather indulge in an hour of Twitter. And that is what it is. But if you don't institute these things, it's going to become more and more difficult to maintain a sense of groundedness and a sense of being strength and endurance as things progress forward. So a couple things here. I'm going to check in with the chat. Something has lifted, so much better, feeling something fresh starting. Then the other side of it is I have bad morning, things are coming to a head. Yeah, see, the thing is those things are not mutually exclusive. Those things are in fact completely connected to each other. And I think this is where the struggle is really going to come in. Then let's see, Gates did recently predict another virus coming up, that we needed an early warning system. I'm going to speak to that in a second. Woke up every hour last night, but somehow I'm feeling significantly better than the past 2 days. My fog is lifted. Yes, I can totally feel that too, Emily. Yes, waking up every hour. I was shifting, turning. It was just like I couldn't get comfortable. The dreams were so agitated. But I do feel better than the past 2 days as well. Something we have come through something. Didn't seem to affect my well-being. Yeah, everybody is different, right? Just like we all have different blood types, and we have a different genetic code, right? And we're in different parts of the world, and all of our blueprints are different, and our focuses are different. So how one person is going to respond is going to be different than how other people are going to respond. But I do get the sense that something is coming to a head, and the fog that has been there, I think, has been the result of a lot of different things. You could say it's spraying, you could say it's frequency directed or frequency based equipment. It could be the solar activity and the solar weather. It can be all of the people having all of their own experiences that are now inputted and impacting the whole. But it does appear that something is moving forward, and you can see that out in the world too, and you can feel that and when we look at the reading, we're going to see that it's this kind of false sense of well, I'll get into the reading and we'll talk about it with the reading. So let's see, I'm gonna go back over to my software here. So there's a couple things that I actually wanted to share, just like about where the sun is today. Sun is in Aquarius. It's in the cosmic egg position, and that actually was the original thumbnail version I'm going to show you of the cosmic egg right here. This is what I wanted to put for the thumbnail today because I just like it so much better, because it really does actually encompass what the cosmic egg is really meant to be, which is, I mean, it looks obviously like a yoni. You have the sun and the moon with each other here. You also just a lot of like natural imagery, a lot of circular imagery, circles among circles. I mean, everything about this looks like a woman's vulva and a vagina down to the clitoris. Like, it's pretty obvious here. And when you talk about the cosmic egg, you are talking about the golden womb, like the space. And in the Vedas, right, in the pre-Hindu perspective, which is evolved into Hinduism, the cosmic egg is in fact the representation of the singular creation, the singular point of creation. So for all of the shit people talk about, certain polytheistic religions, and they have that component about them. I mean, there's like billions, well, not billions, but there's like thousands upon thousands of deities in Hinduism, right? For every experience, there is some sort of personification that has been created, right? This is just the way that, and it's the same thing in Asian countries in general, is like, is this diversity and this multiplicity of every experience having some sort of symbolic representation. Whereas in the West, it's very formulaic and mathematical, very much like the astrology. Western astrology being much more geometric and mathematic and formulaic, and Eastern astrology being much more in the stars themselves and the positions, and referencing all the constellations and things like that. But the sun is in this position today, and when we look at the astrology chart, we'll kind of go back to the last time this was happening last year, and it was a different time around this time last year. We had just passed the inauguration, and there was something very different but very similar of an overlap happening now, but in a different way, right? In some ways, there were some people who were very relieved and very stoked and celebrating at this time last year, and another group of people who were the complete opposite of that and kind of disillusioned about what the hell is happening here. And there's some similar overlaps right now, and different astrology, of course, and different circumstances, but there is a sense of relief on one end, as if something really good and important has happened, and we've reached a threshold, and we've overcome something. And yet there's another group of people that's just like, wait a minute, what is actually happening here? It's kind of the same thing, different circumstances. So it's these situations that we find ourselves as part of the new mutation coming out of the cosmic egg, where we break away from all of the inertia of our past and allow ourselves to come forward from the original source, which in the Vedic scriptures, or the Rig Veda, or even Hinduism, is the golden egg. And so if we were to look at it, let's see here. We're going to look at it. Let's see. We'll go here, but this is not what we're looking at, guys. I didn't even bring it up. So it's the I'll just drop it in Telegram. The whole, it's just a Wikipedia page talking about the Sanskrit version and where it comes from and what it means, and you can look at it. That's fine. You can do that research on your own. But it's a big part, I feel like, of what's going on today, because again, we have this opportunity to move forward and to actually utilize this energy right now as a propelling point, a catapulting, and to be able to bust out of and emerge from this cosmic egg, right? We don't have to continue to rehash the same old shit every single time, because that is an old system. That's an old playbook. Not alchemical transmutation, but somebody else controlling the levers of it, and we just subconsciously and unconsciously giving our energy to these systems. And these systems exist all over the place, specifically through religion, and has for a very long time. But science is the same way. It's been created into some sort of institution. But when we are looking for our own power to be coming from these institutions of religion and science and government and the economy, and they are systematically being rebalanced and destroyed in a lot of ways, I think this is where the real struggle is going to come in. So let's see here if we can, let's get into the actual reading. I think that we'll start there. And then we'll look at the astrology, because we spent a lot of time on the astrology yesterday of the whole week. And so the big aspects today are the moon is still in Scorpio, and she's going to have that grand water trine with Lilith and Neptune. And we'll go into that in more detail today, and kind of, that's like the main one, as the moon moves through Scorpio. And as it gets through Scorpio, we feel more powerful. We feel more aligned with the truth of who we are. We feel like we have learned something about ourselves and about each other, and that we feel like that we've truly produced something of social value through our cooperation and our communion. And this is, like I said, that grand water trine today with Black Moon Lilith in Cancer as well is going to be a very emotionally stabilizing force. And I feel like this is a big part of why maybe it has felt like there's been a lift, because we had the square with the sun yesterday, and now there is an incredibly powerful spiritual and emotionally based stabilization, which is very, very powerful and incredibly connected to the karma of the entire collective, which is a very Piscean and 12th house thing, because this is where Neptune is. So let's look at the reading, because it actually expresses a lot of the tension. It expresses a lot of the division, and where we've been the last 2 days, and where it's likely to go without any kind of intervention. And maybe the intervention, it's without intervention with ourselves, right? I mean, there certainly may be intervention outside of us, and we can see that brewing as well. And we'll certainly be able to see, here we go, see the imagery that seems to reflect also other things in our global, and certainly in the socio-political realm, right? And remember what we talked about yesterday. Mars is in Capricorn, and this is about power, and is in a degree today that is like, remember, it's a big waste of resources when you waste your group capital on war and trying to maintain that power, which is going to be a little difficult for Mars to deal with, because Mars is just like, let's just go for it. So here's the reading. All right, guys. So you can see the sun reversed as our causal factor, and then the 4 of discs, which is the sun in Capricorn, the third decan or third 10 degrees of Capricorn. This is power, right? This is the heart of things. The 8 of swords, interference, and not in a good way either, right? The frequency interference has just been, I think that's been a lot of it. I think people underestimate how sophisticated things have gotten in terms of being able to, and it's not just through, like, I mean, there is tons of coding and signals that are embedded in everything that you watch, even the most seemingly innocuous and innocent things, right? I mean, children's programming is pretty a good example of that. But I think that and what we are distracted with in terms of our attention that gets put out into all various forms of media is also an interference to draw our attention towards a certain mindset. So, and emotionally based. So, and when the Eight of Swords is reversed like this, it's not only like this endless analyzing and this constant expansion of the realm of ideas to the point where you are distracted. But when it's reversed, I mean, this is compulsive brooding, basically, and not realizing it, and getting trapped there. So that's... When we look at this horizontal axis, there's something important I need to mention here. When I use this deck, the Thoth deck and the original tarot deck, you have to understand that their system is ultimately based on the false matrix. It's a base 10 system, right? The 1 and the 0. It's based on a binary system, right? Which is ultimately limiting to us as spiritual creatures, right? We want to, so these systems are inherently flawed, unfortunately, right? The tarot, if it's base 10, right? Especially the Thoth tarot. I mean, Aleister Crowley was pretty instrumental in instituting these systems into the Western mind in particular. But same thing with the Kabbalah, right? It's not complete. At base 10, it's limiting. But that's why I use this deck in this horizontal cause and effect, right? Because this is in what is ultimately a limiting matrix, which is the strictly material third density world that we're part of. And so when we see this horizontal axis, we know that it's not, I know that it's not reflecting anything incredibly spiritual or well, yeah, for me, because it is inherently in its construction already limited to, a dialectic, a binary, right? A binary code, a 1 and a 0. So it's a closed loop all the time, right? And this is part of being trapped here is that. So, just know that, when you look at the effect on this axis here, it is an effect that is primarily experienced in that overlay or that false structure or that strictly third density material aspect. And so there will be this, and you may find yourself again being pulled into it. You may be compulsively brooding. I mean, I certainly find myself thinking a lot about some stuff, especially with those CDC lab monkeys crashing an hour from my house and having some, wait till you see the video, like the things that happened and what they're trying to convince us is like organic and accidental is just it's just like the person who interacted with them, like a local, and the posts that she apparently made after, and now she's got COVID symptoms because she got near that. There's a lot of distraction out there, and there's a lot of things to pull us into this rumination or brooding and compulsively brooding. And it starts with not really feeling fully in our power, right? Like not truly. And that's the sun reversed, right? A lot of dazzle and no follow through with the sun reversed, right? The sun is great. It's the sun. It's number 19. It's the center of everything. You see the entire zodiac is surrounding it. You have the two cherubs here that are like, honoring and revering the sun, looking up. And yeah, it's just everything. And it even kind of looks like that cosmic egg in some ways, right? The golden womb or the egg here. And, it's the sun. Everything about it is pretty, we can intuitively, know what this represents when it's upright. So, but when it's reversed, this is really suggesting that it's been very difficult, especially with the sun in Aquarius. That's just natural at this time of year. to find oneself in a structure that is fundamentally about the collective and not about the individual. But we find our sense of humanity by expressing ourselves through what is best for humanity, right? This is where humanitarianism can be this is where humanitarianism comes forward. So, but in this reversal position, the thing that really keeps coming out for me is just like a lot of like sparkle with nothing to show for it, right? A lot of false promises, a lot of, and people's light dimming, right? And a lot of this not being as great as it seems, okay? This is coming into this moment. And so when we come into this moment here, the power, right? We want, right? This is at the heart. We want power. The sun in Capricorn, the 4 of discs. So the 4 it's a fortress, right? Capricorn is already a fortress, and then you have the 4 along with it. And so you have this like Mercury moat, like liquid mercury moat around this fortress. And it is got at each angle all of, the elements here, earth and wind or air and fire and water, right? These are the physical elements that make up the natural world that we are part of, and it actually holds us in, just kind of like, the bonds of atoms, and in order to make substances. So at the heart here, I think this is the third decan of Capricorn is this power, right? That we find ourselves empowered and certainly secured by the fortress of our institutions, socio-political, or the economy, or very basically the organic, natural machinery, right? All of those things give us a sense of containment at a social level and security, not just within ourselves, but as a society. So I think that we're really, we're really feeling it. We are wanting it. It is at the heart of things. Now, who is here? Mercury is here in the last decan of Capricorn retrograde. Pluto is in the last decan. The natal Pluto of the United States, which is pretty much, splitting the difference right now between Pluto and Mercury, is in the middle of them. That is also in the third decan of Capricorn. Juno asteroid Juno is meeting the natal Pluto point of the United States, right? She is the defender of the state and women. She is the judge in some ways, right? She is the agent of the scales. Venus just is the agent of Libra in terms of her sensitivity to the world around her allows her to be the perfect balance for the scales. But it's Juno that actually puts it into place as an archetype, right? The wife of Zeus. She is the defender of the state, and she balances those things out. And so she's also at this point. There's just a lot of this aspect of power that is coming into play. Mars is in Capricorn, of course. And so really acting on the very essence of what this means. But this is at the heart of things right now. And to start out with the sun being reversed as our causal factor, I really just get the sense that people are wanting some measure of security very badly and not finding it within just themselves, right? They're looking to the socio-political, the material world to provide it rather than to let their own sun shine, because their own sun shining has been there's something off about it, or it's not coming forward as strongly as we would want, or it has been utilized for somebody else's agenda. These are all ways that the sun reverse could be expressing itself out there in the matrix, right? The third density matrix. So when it comes to the Akashic Tarot is not perfect because it's still a base 8, and I honestly it's base 3 is where it's at, right? And base 12, honestly. But I'll take base 8, right? Like moving up to the octave feels like a very natural, much more of a natural progression. So when we look at where we're rooting ourselves energetically, and certainly where we're gathering our personal power, and maybe what's just going on in the subconscious. Our power is coming from this place. The Six of Roses, I mean, it's a pretty obvious battle here, and it's a battle between two factions that at one point had been the same family, right? And as you can see with the flag on the ground, and they tried to make it right, but the differences between them were so stark and so obvious that it got emotional, right? It got personal, and it's split. And now it's not even that they're split; they're gonna like face off and go to battle. And so we I feel like a lot of what we're experiencing right now and seeing outside in us as we see reflected in this horizon or this horizontal axis here has a lot to do with the fact that we are in this place within ourselves. We're still kind of in this battle mode within ourselves, and drawing our power from this place, right? Of the standoff. And it's very, like I said, it's very emotional. And let's see here. There is a war. It's an internal war. It's an internal war with, like I said, it got personal and it's very emotional. So it can be in relationships. But it could be also people that we have very strong connections to, even if it's not family. It could be, a face-off at our work situation, or a family member in general, or a boss or something like that. But this really does suggest that there's an impasse here emotionally. And where we are rooting ourselves is in this impasse. And I think that we really have tried to figure out how to bring these aspects together. And right now, and it's very karmic. That's the thing that I really feel very strongly about all of this right now, is that everything about it is karmically drawing us out into drawing us out as the new mutation, the emergence of a totally new human. And what that looks like is going to be the result of, where the majority of humanity is facing, and where they're oriented to. So we are at an impasse, and it is very karmic. And we need to really pay attention to this, and not continue to, I would say, if you're finding yourself like battling something within yourself, or just knowing the battle in itself is where we're gathering a lot of where we're gathering our power. And if we're going to talk about that, I mean, Black Moon Lilith in Cancer right now. I mean, it really depends on where we're giving our energy to. Where's our loyalty going to? Where's our faithfulness? Who are we fighting for? And what are we... what has our back, and who has our, and do they have our back, type of thing. And this really is, we have to be very mindful about. And as you can see here with the guidance, I mean, the dog is a pretty Cancerian element too, right? Whom are you serving? Because we don't have the full story. The scribe being upset, reversed like this, is we don't have the full story. And maybe we need to resist some orders here. This really does actually fit into this water trine, as you're going to see when we go into the chart. So just kind of keep an eye on these things and what they represent. So the willow, when it's reversed, the Two of Forces, is also, where our conscious attention and awareness right now is on the fact that, like, conflict is brewing all around us. Like, we're getting blown around, and it's important to realize that we are stable, that we are rooted, that we have everything we need, but we're getting blown around, right? We are being surrounded by conflict in some way, shape, or form when the Two of Forces is, especially when the Two of Forces is reversed. When it's reversed, right? When it's upright, you're just like, yeah, I'm like in it. But I mean, the winds of change and conflict, that was the one I was looking up, is blowing all around us, right? We want to stay flexible. We don't want to give in to this. And this is really important. because the emotional aspect is where it all comes out. And so we know that the winds of change are blowing, that the conflict is blowing all around us, and we want to stay flexible enough, but also rooted enough not to get totally blown over. But if you are too rigid in your position when this is happening, you risk like breaking something. And this is can certainly lead to also a lot of compulsive brooding, and a sense of just never giving up mentally, right? Just like constantly engaged with the distraction, and your adrenals just always engaged, and never really allowing yourself to come to any peace. So this is just a reminder again how important it is to realize that that we are being blown around, and that our best course of action, I would say, and where we can put our attention is how rooted and flexible we can be at the same time. And that sounds very contradictory and counterintuitive, but it's exactly the right imagery to consider, right? To be a tree. And if you need to do tree pose, to help bring it and embody it into your body. In fact, maybe I'll do something about that today. A yoga thing. So to show you tree pose, the different ways you can do tree pose, like walk you through, because I am a trained yoga teacher. So maybe I'll do that, because when we find ways to embody these ideas or these notions or these feelings, then we actually are really doing some magic and some manifestation, because when they're in the body, then you have brought that energetic template into the materium. And this is kind of what Hatha Yoga is really for. So I'll see what I can do today. I'm sure I'm going to need a break from recording all of the horoscopes today. So that'll be good, and a good reminder. And speaking of reminders, let's first let's look at interference, just to go back over it. 8 of Swords. Now remember, the 8 is that, it's the infinity, obviously, but it's also the divine intervention, right? You have the fall from grace of the 7, but then you have the 8 that is the empty vessel that is ready to be filled, which then comes to the 9, which is culmination. But that's not the end of the story, right? You still have another aspect to move through in terms of your progression, right? You don't stop at the 9. The 9th house is Sagittarius, which a lot of people do stop at, right? You stop there because you think wisdom is the same as divinity. And if you know anything about the story of Solomon, you should know better that's not the case. But anyway, I digress. 8 of Swords, interference, right? It gets to the point where you realize that no amount of expansion of these ideas and just allowing in is going to do anything but just reinforce the same compulsive brooding over and over and over. And so when it's upright, this is that moment where you're like, okay, I'm just going to let it all go. And unfortunately for the sword suit, when you get to the 9 of Swords, it's a very cruel and uncomfortable experience. So, but this is suggesting that it's going to be very difficult for us to even get there collectively, in terms of the outside, because there's a lot of interference, right? There's a lot of things that are keeping people from just letting go of where they've been and being in their bodies, embodying the reality, and also being in alignment with everything that is consummated to this point, which is the North Node in Taurus, at 30 degrees Taurus. So we talked about the guidance here, right? Whom do you serve? With this is, again, very Cancerian. Canis Major is where Sirius is. The star Sirius is in the constellation Canis Major. Your loyalty and faithfulness is misplaced by serving too many masters, right? And I would say just serving the master of somebody else's little magical spell through creating a dialectic that then will be brought together into some sort of magical transmutation. Are you okay with that? That is a question that I continue to ask myself. Are you okay with the possibility that everything you see has been created for this purpose to then catapult us into or out of the cosmic egg? That's not an easy answer, or maybe it is. it's something that I think about a lot, right? Because there's a lot of people that are on the tip here that both sides, and we've talked about this a lot, both sides are the same side, right? They're playing the chess match together. The light and the dark are working in unison as the six, they're here, right? This is the Six of Roses. But what if, the Atlantean priesthood, right? Those that have come forward through the bloodlines and have been the secret societies, the mystery schools, they know that this is how you transmute, right? This is how you can, Seth said something the other day that just blew my mind. Sometimes he says that he channels things that I'm just like, where do they come from? And he said something about an evolution generator. It's right here, right? It's alchemical transmutation. That is an evolution generator. Anyway, I don't want to get too much into this subject, but this is a very deep thing that I've been thinking about. But one thing I will say here is, who are you serving? Too many masters perhaps? And then with the scribe, number 12, number 12, the scribe, right? This is the end of the zodiac. Pisces, the 12th house. Everything that there is and has been and ever will be is recorded in the morphogenetic field, in Akashic records, right? When it's reversed, there's something that we don't have the full picture, and we haven't absorbed the full range of information that we could. It hasn't all been recorded yet, or we don't know, or we're avoiding really getting into all of the information that we can. And I think that is leading us to maybe fall into this pattern instead, collectively and energetically. So the dog is the reminder. Whom do we serve? Where is your faithfulness and your loyalty, right? Maybe we don't have all of the information to make an informed decision about this. And so we get pulled into creating energy, very potent energy, drawing our personal power from the dialectic that has been created for us. And it's very real. It's very emotional. So when we talk about the areas of the upper chakras, our conscious awareness and attention, the spider, right? This is, of course, trust the creative spark you've been feeling and write and express it through writing. But this is really, when you think about writing and you think about expression and you think about creativity, I mean, this is how we create reality. And so we want to be able to create our own web. We want to, have a web that can withstand the wind and the rain and the ice, right? Or put it in a place that we know it's going to be protected. We are in control of crafting this web for ourselves as opposed to being caught in someone else's. And we want it to hold us. We want it to hold us so that we can do what we need to do, right? What's a web for? A web is to gather sustenance. A web is a home, right? It's protection. It's all of, we are looking for, and at the heart of it, we want this structure and this support and what is going on outside at a socio-political, economical, institutional fortress. And I think that we really do need to be more focused on more of a Cancerian aspect of creating this sense of containment and protection and loyalty and faithfulness, and that we are the creators, right? A spider weaves a web from their own body, right? Now, we're talking about the willow being reversed. So, we know that things are blowing all around us. We want to be flexible and sturdy at the same time, just like a web, right? Those things are very strong, yet they are also very pliable, and they can easily be destroyed, but they are also incredibly strong. If you've ever, they repel water. They manage to stay up in all kinds of conditions. So this Seven of Keys being reversed is a real indication, again, that our the concept of our ascension, or the work that we've been doing, it may feel like that we just got, pushed off the mountain, or perhaps we may literally fall from grace, right? Or we may lose a position, or we may get knocked off of the top of our mountain. And that's very possible in a number of ways. And considering the position of this, I would say that is maybe a moment of grace. Certainly a reminder, that we will have to maybe put some more effort in if we want to get back up here. Perhaps this wasn't the right mountain we wanted to go up. And if you consider the position of Pluto right now in Capricorn, the degree, and we've talked about this many times though, but just to reiterate it, the degree that it's at references the pathway up to the mountain shrine, the pilgrimage path. And with Pluto there, it's everything that we have relied upon in terms of our own spiritual upreaching is also being destroyed. And so again, being able to connect into the earth, maybe it's not about upreaching right now, but it's more about, again, consolidation, containment, being in control of ourselves, so that we don't get pulled into the interference that is being projected out there because of basically, a feeling of unfulfilled promises, a feeling of disempowerment with the sun here in its reversal. So we really are being tasked here in a way that's been, I think, more powerful than what we even experienced last year at this time. So let's actually look at, I want to look at the chart and get into it. And I want to show you the chart for last year around this time. I think it's actually pretty remarkable what's going the differences and then also the similarities to what was happening. So last year, what was happening was that we were a week out of the inauguration. And so there was just kind of a lot of like, what is this? What just happened? As we see here, this is it actually, now that I'm looking at it. So, we had Venus in Capricorn. Again, this is the degree that Mars and Venus are going to conjunct on February 16th is this degree of Capricorn. So on the inauguration day, or was it the 20th? It's the 21st, right? The inauguration day, this is where Venus was last year, right? Just by her lonesome. And this year, on February 16th, this is where Mars is going to meet her at the same degree. And it's, again, this is about breaking the chains of something. So we have the sun at 2 degrees Aquarius, right? The unexpected storm. But we had Saturn in early Aquarius, and we had Jupiter in Aquarius that had just passed the point of the golden egg, actually. And we also had Mercury in Aquarius, which it was, but it wasn't retrograde like it is now. And so it's back here in Capricorn. We also have Pluto still in Capricorn. We have and then we have Uranus and Mars together at this same time. And I do believe Uranus might have just stationed direct right before this happened. And then you have Mars here as well. And 6 to 7 degrees is the woman at the well. Oh man, and the moon was here too. That was if we go back a couple hours even, we'll probably get a moon conjunct Uranus, and then a moon conjunct Mars in Taurus, right? This is about natural fertile growth, or natural fertility and natural progression of Taurus, and assets and resources. And 8 degrees 8 degrees of Taurus is basically, the Sabian symbol is it's a sleigh, like a sled, like a old wooden sled with the runners propped up when there's no snow yet. And the idea is that you are preparing for what is going to happen. Like, you can tell based on a communion with the natural cycles of life that there will be snow. And so you already have the sled out ready to go. And I thought that was very interesting for what was happening last year at the inauguration, as well. So, and then of course the woman at the well, 6 to 7 degrees of Taurus, is about letting go of the past, or not even letting go, but the capacity to see ahead into what's, again, to be able to naturally identify what's going to happen as a result of being in communion with the natural law and natural attunement and the seasons themselves. And the woman at the well, in particular, the Sumerian woman at the well is, because she had no real attachment to her own history or her heritage, because she was consistently kind of outcasted from her society, was able to see Jesus for who he was above everybody else. And in fact, some people believe that the woman at the well is Mary Magdalene, and that she was actually, what made her different was not that she had a bunch of husbands, is that she was part of the, more of the religion of the ancient mystery school religion and the goddess worshipped, and that she was actually some sort of, I know this is totally blasphemous, but there's a huge body of work that's focused here that she was actually one of like sacred prostitutes. And that's how it got conflated into her being a prostitute. It's not so much that she was a prostitute or that she was, a loose woman. She was actually a sacred vessel, and coming from the ancient mystery school religions. And you can see how those things were in tension, in conflict with, at that point, the Hebrew religion that Jesus was from the lineage of, essentially the Abrahamic aspect. So anyway, I know that that's like a kind of going off on a tangent, but I just want to show you what was happening around this time last year, and how there are now, if we come to a year later and we look, here we go. We come to a year later and we come to today and we look at where everything is. We have some things that are similar, but also things that are very different. Like Mars is up in Capricorn as opposed to Taurus, right? Mars in Taurus was definitely not, even with Uranus, it was not in a position to act on anything. And now it is very, very much so, right? Because Capricorn is cardinal Earth. Taurus is fixed Earth, right? You just have to allow it to naturally unfold. And I think that was very difficult for people to understand at that point. And there's a lot of expectation, and maybe that expectation is what is possibly unfolding now that Mars is in Capricorn as opposed to Taurus. And there was the moon was involved as well at that time. So it's just an interesting time in general, and to just look back at what was happening. So speaking of today, let's look at this amazing water trine as well. I'm going to check in here. Okay. The bots are back, guys. The bots are back. I think that they show up in reference to certain trigger words, right? You say certain things in your video and they show up, and they are recording or tracking or whatever they're doing. But there's something that triggers them to come in that's probably based on an actual word that's spoken. So I think that's very interesting too. So here we are. This is today. Like I said, we talked about this yesterday, but I wanted to connect it to the reading itself, because this water trine, like I said, is incredibly stabilizing, and is very, very feminine in terms of Black Moon Lilith, Cancer. I mean, all the water signs have a feminine component because they're the water signs. So they are receptive, they are fluid, they are passive, and There's moisture involved, the yin quality, all of those things. But also too with Lilith and the moon, I mean, this is very much like the divine feminine blueprint, the piece of that is within us, representing feel, right, our own feminine polarity in everybody. Everybody has this. And then Neptune in Pisces, right? That is just dissolving everything it touches. Well, it doesn't have to dissolve anything it touches because it's all water here. And the only thing that is potentially not, or is potentially as solid, is the shell of the crab of Cancer, or the armor of the charioteer in Cancer, or the the bond of the relationships. But that's the thing, even the bond of the relationships is in itself an energetic or frequency related bond, as opposed to anything physical. But it can be broken, and it can be structural integrity can be compromised in some way, depending on where your faithfulness and loyalty lies, right? If it's not true, and if it's not cohesive, and you can't actually consolidate real power in those smaller groups, relationships, families, whatever, your own inner life, it certainly can be disrupted and destroyed. But otherwise, the rest of this is all just feeling. And the only real containment system that has any kind of substance is related to our very blueprint of the feminine, the divine feminine. And I would go as far as the womb of creation, right? Ishtar, Isis, right? She represents the high priestess, right? She represents in material form that which is the esoteric womb, and the esoteric feminine blueprint. And so there's something about performing in the interest, or in the performing something in the as an expression of one's loyalty to a situation. So think of it as like an opera singer that is performing, at the height of their training and their excellency, to tell a story. And the story is about the culture, or the national aspect, or the smaller regional aspect, all of the Cancerian element. But this is what the opera singer is doing. They are performing in a personal way, but it's about expressing the emotional component of that which we all belong to at an emotional level. And so, again, it's something that is so deep here that what I think is really interesting as well, when it's connecting to the moon in Scorpio, in particular, this direct exact degree, 21 degrees of Scorpio, is a soldier obeying his conscience and resisting orders, right? We're starting to feel stronger now. We're starting to feel a sense of where we actually do get our power from, and what we are producing, and if we want to keep producing that. And there's a sense of real awareness of this, and part of this is stabilized by almost instinctual need to perform in the service of that which we are loyal to. So this is the other thing, we have to be mindful of the full story here, and Neptune in Pisces makes that so difficult, because there are no boundaries, there's no edge of the pool here. You are just out in the ocean, and there is nothing but ocean, and in some ways you're like submerged into it. So nothing even looks clear at this point, because it's distorted. When light is distorted underwater, and when you're talking about Neptune and Pisces, that's all there is. So you have to become a master. This is where the guru really resides, and this is where Jupiter is right now. So the yogi guru that is very much like more of a wisdom teacher is over here in Sagittarius. The true guru, as Alan Watts has talked about, and in every spiritual practice that has truly gurus, and I'm thinking of like the Vedas, the Vedic and pre-Hindu type of spiritual practices and spiritual institutions, the guru is already existing in this place, and a really good, really good representation within, modern history is to look at the guru of Baba Ram Dass, right? If you go into his story and learn about Maharishi and his guru and what his experiences were, then you'll see that the guru is not teaching you anything. The guru is nothing more than a reflection back of yourself, right? Showing you the divinity within yourself. So, but this is a very nebulous and confusing place to be. And there are lots of mandates coming down from high here, and which ones that, these peak experiences, which one? What does it mean, right? This is all very confusing, and this is where we get to lock this emotionally into place for ourselves, because once we pass this point, I do feel, especially once the moon moves past K2 at 30 degrees Scorpio, which is in conjunction with Alpha Centauri, I mean, we're going to feel that one time, I wouldn't say last time, but it's going to be the last time the moon crosses K2 at that degree, I'm pretty sure. If we go like a month ahead, for instance, I'm sure we could see the next time the moon comes into Scorpio, and you can already see that the nodes will be well off of 30 degrees at that point once the moon comes back around again. So this is going to be the last time that the moon meets South Node at Alpha Centauri for a long time. So what is Alpha Centauri and starseeds? Who are they, and what's the nature of fixed star Ptolemy, right? It's self-sacrifice. It's completely dedicated to a cause, giving everything you have. And oftentimes there is a lot of energy naturally at this point to be released and to be offered as a way for society to really move forward, or to give something, or to be very invested in something. So this particular trine is really important today. And it's already, this is 1040, so it's already been exact. And so it's going to, by the time we get to the end of today into tomorrow, the moon will then cross over the South Node, and it'll be like a remembrance. It'll be like a remembrance of like what it is that we have in the past lives, a multidimensional perspective, but definitely with the South Node, what we've already karmically and soul-wise have mastered is giving, totally self-sacrificing. And I'm not suggesting that we shouldn't do that. That's for all of us to come to our own personal conclusions about with the moon in particular, how we each feel about it. But this stabilizes us in this moment of the energy that we are going to give in this self-sacrificing, and it's not like we have to give of ourselves. It's just that you completely give yourself to the cause. And Alpha Centauri and starseeds, that's exactly what they do. So I would also expect that those with Alpha Centauri and starseed markings are going to feel this really strong remembrance of who they are and where they've come from, and maybe how they've enacted this particular part of themselves in the past. And I would say definitely in the past, because it's K2. We've all experienced this at some level in the past. And we want to use the South Node. The South Node is our momentum moving towards our future or our soul's evolution. So, but we have to be very clear with ourselves. And Black Moon Lilith, again, we have to be very aware of our own shadow. We have to be aware of those dark primal places and what they lead us to express. And once if we're very real with ourselves and very clear with that, then we will be, I think, know exactly where we are going to give our energy to, and then kind of activate it when the moon crosses K2 by the end of today into tomorrow. The other thing to look at too is that Mercury is also very involved in where the nodal axis of the moon is. Right now as well today. So the Mercury is now at 30 degrees of Capricorn. This is the secret executive meeting, right? So Mercury's in retrograde. Perhaps there is a an intentional walking back of things, to review, to, kind of, dip in the toe or to like try something. And now that Mercury's come back, they're going back into their session and be like, okay, we did that. So now what? Like, what is it? Not now what, but let's assess. Let's review that. Let's proofread it. Let's go back over it and see what was working and what wasn't working in this way. So again, it's very harmonized with the nodal axis of the moon. It's in a trine to the north node, and it is in a sextile, again, to the south node. So there is a moment here that we could be either very passive, in some ways, we can be passive in terms of our mind, our nervous system, our cognition. We can be thinking very seriously and very directly towards goals, ambitions, towards the issues of larger structures and contribution and power. We can be very passive about it, or there will be this activation again of where we've been with the moon involved, of the self-sacrifice, right? The giving of ourselves wholeheartedly to some sort of cause. And again, this trine is going to have a big impact on how that gets fulfilled for each of us, how we experience it, what we feel about it, what we individually want to give ourselves to, how that makes us feel, all of those things. And we are reconsidering, all of us, about power and the decisions that need to be made. But I would venture to guess here that a lot of the things that have been seemingly changed were intentionally meant to just kind of test some things, test the waters, see what people would do. And now that Mercury's back in Capricorn like this, that hermetic and mercurial aspect of like, okay, let's reconvene here and go over what came about as a result of those actions and those decisions, and apply that to this evolutionary process. You don't have to really do much with the trine to the north node again. So tons of Pleiadian activations as well with all of this north node and Mercury in Capricorn. So let's see what else is happening today. So we saw the trine. We saw the water trine. We saw the connection to K2. That's happening. Let's look at this here. And then the moon in Scorpio comes into a sextile with Pluto, right? Pluto is one of the rulers of the Scorpio realm, and so it's a familiar territory. This particular degree is, again, like how do I put this? Maybe I should just read the Sabian symbol so that it makes a little bit more sense. Oh yeah, a military band marches noisily on through the city streets. So what's a sextile, right? 60-degree angle. This is an activating, harmonious but activating aspect, right? You can create something if you invest yourself into this energy of water and earth. And when you talk about a military band marching noisily through the street, there's a couple ways you can interpret this. One, it could be like a really aggressive glorification, and you're trying to get everybody involved. Now, remember, it's the moon. So this is going to be how we're feeling about things. This also is in reference to the psyche, being very clear with itself about what values it is going to glorify, and really just trying to elevate itself beyond just the normal, and to like have a sense of pride and a sense of belonging with this truth that has become very evident through the journey through the abyss, right? And so you get very, you do want to glorify it, and it can be aggressive. And again, military is a big part of Scorpio because it's the feeling that's created created in a social situation or a cooperative effort that is really the power. And this is what motivates people to go into battle, Mars, that also rules Scorpio. But this sextile here, again, is the demolition in preparation for transformation or metamorphosis of all of the pathways up the mountain, right? The ascent that is actually turned on its head because Pluto is here. And so we may not know exactly how to get up the mountain right now, but what we do know is where we belong, and if feeling into that, and maybe feeling a sense of pride, and maybe feeling a sense of cohesiveness as a result of it, and maybe just becoming really clear and with ourselves in our feelings and our intuition about those values that make us want to go out into the street and be like, yo, like this is what's up. This could also come out in a lot of other ways too, but we're going to stick to the more esoteric, individualized experience rather than trying to forecast or predict anything out on the global stage right now. But you can see that there is a lot of astrological connection right now to the idea of battle, the idea of the military, the idea of war, where Mars is in Capricorn, and power as well. So that is definitely on everybody's mind. Oh, hold on, guys. Sorry. I never have my ringer on. That's very strange. So let's see. That's going to be tonight, right? By the end of tonight. And then this is where we find the moon is going to come into that opposition with the North Node, meet K2 at 30 degrees of Scorpio, and then this is very early tomorrow morning, and then move into Sagittarius. And I think we're going to start feeling a lot of strength, internal, emotional strength, a sense of who we feel like on the inside is going to have some meaning behind it as well. So we'll have lots to talk about tomorrow when we get to that point. So one thing I would love to do right now, just in case people haven't seen it, so I'm going to turn this off. I just want to show you the flyer for my latest, maybe this. Okay. I want to show you the flyer for my latest offering. Let's see if it's, there we go. Because not everybody uses Telegram or social media, and I'm off officially not posting on Facebook anymore. Catalyst Energies is still parked in the same page, and I've pinned a message to direct people. So if they still use Facebook, they can go to that page and they will see the pinned message that says, I'm not active here anymore, but you can find Catalyst Energies here. But Telegram and my email list are really the only places I'm able to post these kinds of things. But here it is, right? 30-minute reading for $44 US dollars, and a 60-minute reading for $77. My starseed readings are usually $99, right? It's a recorded reading. So they're being offered at a huge discount. And so I don't often offer these 30-minute readings for something like this, but I do feel like that it's enough to give people insight onto their major starseed lineage and origin in the chart, and a starting point, right? If you have a starting point and confirmation of things that you may have already started to intuitively pick up on your own, or maybe another reader or intuitive person has given you insight into your starseed origins, this is a great way to maybe have that confirmed or just get started. The 60-minute is way more in depth, and then I do offer a package that's the natal chart, the starseed reading, and then a one-on-one on Zoom that's all wrapped up, and that's for $222. So that's 3 hours of either recordings and one-on-one time, plus all of the prep work for $222. And there's usually a lot more interaction and questions answered once people are consistent clients. So that's another benefit to getting on board with some of this stuff, is that there is a continual connection if you want it. And then Reiki sessions, I'm doing add-ons to any service for only $22. And so anybody that has had Reiki, distance Reiki from me, or in person, but anybody that's had distance Reiki from me can attest to the fact that this is a screaming deal. And I get a lot of intuitive information when I am channeling Reiki as well. So there is a lot to get out of a 30-minute treatment session. And then you put that along with any other service, like a reading or of any type, or even a consultation where we get into something very specific. It's just like a capstone. It's at a pretty screaming deal, like I said. And I'm not just trying to. It really is, right? I mean, in terms of what you get out of it, it's a pretty good value. So I just wanted to show that. It's on Telegram. It's on my, if you're on my email list, you're getting this promotional material in these offerings. So if you're not on my email list, you can get on that by going to the website. It's in the description box below. There's a splash page. It just comes up right at the home page. You can just put in your email, and then you're on my email list. And when I do offerings like this, or there's a new report and you don't want to use social media, you will know that things are being offered. So if you are interested in any other type of service, you can find anything that you need on my website. You can also reach out to me through email. That is also in the description box below. So I'm going to leave it here for today, my friends. Thank you so much for being here. I truly appreciate each and every one of you. If you are interested in supporting this work financially through Subscribestar, you can follow the link in the description box, or you can stick around at the end of this video and get some more information. Do that, and that would be really appreciated. I love doing this. I want to keep it as an offering, but those subscriptions really help, and I would love to where subscribers have exclusive content like meetups and stuff, like Starseed meetups and Zoom chats and stuff like that, because what I have found is creating a community and a container and having space for all of us to commune with each other is really where we're going with the age of Aquarius. Like, the age of Pisces was the guru age, right? It was the age of the ascended masters and the Buddhas and the Christs and all manner of Krishna, whatever, all manner of representations to come in and basically hold the resonance of the entire, bring the resonance of source or God or the divine essence into our reality. Aquarius is going to be a lot more about the human experience being directed by our communion based on our frequency. And so creating a space for this and to create a container for us to come together is really important and is really my goal. So you can help that by supporting the work on Subscribestar and just keeping in touch, because there will be more options for that and for subscribers along the way. And I swear I'm going to get on Twitch soon. I really, really am. I really felt like that Mercury being retrograde, it was just not the time. And so I'm going to honor that and kind of track when it's going to come back into not only my first house, but when it's going to station direct. And I think that's going to have a big impact on when I move over to Twitch. Anyway, guys, I love you so much. Thank you for being here. Take care of yourself. Take care of each other. Have a blessed day. I'll see you tomorrow for the Daily Medicine transmission. And yeah, I love you guys. Take care. Bye.